Yeah, we're not going to try to make you answer that question
We
and
would
put
never,
yourself in danger.
ever-
As Nate's about to try to some fucking scumbaggy, loopholey bullshit way do, you don't have to answer it.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate. Joining me, as always, my brother Zach.
Fuck Jorah Mormont!
And we are reading Storm of Swords.
Fuck Jorah Mormont!
If you have joined us before, thank you for coming back.
Fuck Jorah Mormont!
If you have not been here before, fuck Jorah Mormont.
We are full spoiler. This is your warning at the top of the show. If you don't mind spoilers, stick around, but we do like to discuss all the events of the books congruently and discuss theories about them. Last episode, we were reading John 1, Fuck Jorah Mormont, and
All right,
John...
so we'll put a quick hold on fuck Jorah Mormont as we get
I don't know
through
if
John.
I can.
All right, then we joined John for his first chapter of Storm of Swords, where he was meeting up with the wildlings.
Yeah.
He was entering into Mance Rayder's cape, his camp.
Get under here,
well,
John.
I'm just
get
excited
under
about
here.
because he has such a cool story about his cape. It's
He
stuck in
was,
my head.
yeah, he was traveling through the wildling camp and realized these are normal people. It's no different than his own. They're preparing, he does notice that they're preparing weaponry to fight his brothers, but he meets Mance Rayder, mistaking first the Magnar of Thenns for him, but that wasn't
Stig, the Magnar of Then.
and was introduced to Tormund and Vala and Val and Dala and Mance Rayder himself, the king beyond the wall, who, goddamn, Mance Rayder is just fucking awesome.
Yeah, and
He's
it
our
was
modern day Rhaegar, motherfucker.
It was a sick ass fucking meeting.
Yeah,
And
Rhaegar basically asked John
you just
why.
called him Rhaegar.
Fuck! Damn it, I did. Mance asked John, why would you want to turn your cloak? And John asks for Mance's reason first, and Mance basically says, I wanted the choice to be free, and a woman repaired my cloak with her greatest treasure, and they said that was wrong.
Magic silk from a shy, by the way.
Right.
Just throwing
And
that out
John,
there.
then twisting Mance's story about having been at Bobby B's feast, asked him if he noticed where the bastard was seated at that feast, and Mance understood then the resentment John was holding, being a bastard, and offered his hand and said, we need to get you a new cloak.
Which was a very good moment for John to be able to use that resentment that is there, but turn it towards this direction.
To get it in, yeah.
I just want to point out that you're a firm believer that Rhaegar is Mance. Yeah? No? No. I'm gonna just throw out the rubies are a big signifier of magic.
Yeah.
And and forgetting the crazy theories.
Can we address why did you think I thought that?
I don't know. I thought you always
Like
talk about-
I'm okay if like Rhaegar's alive. Like I buy into that theory a bit, but like
I
never
don't know.
Mance. No, Mance is doing his. I fucking love. I just think Mance is our current generation's version of Rhaegar. He doesn't want to fight.
My main thing is, do you think that... Well, I suppose we see him without his cloak on. I was going to say, do you think we see... This is the actual Mance, but I suppose he would have to always be wearing that cloak for that little thing to
Glamour.
wander home. So, yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't either think that. I think Mance is his own badass character. And
Yeah,
doesn't
I think
need to
he's
be
a
surprise
view
Targaryen.
of people like Rhaegar that they can't exist in this world, but... and I think that's specifically why these chapters coincide.
Yeah.
We get a Mance character, and then we get talk of another character.
I also
similar.
thought it was cool that we had that character of Mance right after a Sansa chapter, where we meet Marjorie and see that conniving side, but also the potential for a she talks to the small folk and gets in with them.
We also
in
see
that
the
way.
importance of a cloak.
And the importance of a cloak.
Of a gifted cloak. And so,
Anyway.
we are not reading the Mance chapter this episode. We are reading Dany 1, Dany's first chapter of A Storm of Swords. Last we left Dany in A Clash of Kings. She was in Karth and was at first received warmly as the mother of dragons, meeting Zarozo and Doxus, Pyat Pri of the Warlocks, and Karth, all three of which were of the 13 of Karth. And she ended up going and visiting everyone, asking for aid, which was denied her unless she basically traded the dragon, which fuck that.
Yeah, which led her finally to going to the Warlocks, who basically tried to steal the dragon, and she burned it down.
Fuck yeah,
Fucked
she did.
them all.
Crazy visions,
wild visions,
and prophecies that
which
still stick
we
with
break
her.
down and go listen to those episodes if you want to hear them.
And they still stick with her, and we'll be discussing some of them in this chapter.
So basically, she goes down to the docks preparing to leave, trying to find a ship that will take dragons when she has an attempted assassination by...
The Warlocks hired a sorrowful man to try to kill her, and it fails thanks to Arstan Whitebeard.
Barry the Bold,
and Strong Belwas.
Strong Belwas, let's be honest, at this point, hadn't done shit.
All right, you need to relax.
Nope, I'm putting a firm fucking stance, drawing a line in the sand here. Belwas hadn't done shit yet. Not shit.
Belwas won't draw a line in the sand. He'll draw a line on his belly. So fuck
I'll cut his belly. Come at me, Belwas.
You ain't shit.
I'll cut his gut.
So, they were sent by Illyrio Mopatis with 3 ships to bring her to Pentos because Illyrio would like to speak to her.
Yeah.
And so Dany now has her ships, demands they be renamed to dragons, and they set sail. And this is where we pick up with Dany 1.
Yeah. So also, you pretty much just described half of this chapter, because this is her first chapter. It's basically a lot of recap stuff, a lot of things that were covered in Clash of Kings. And so I think we can kind of rehash that stuff a little bit, but it doesn't need to be too detailed as we covered that as well.
A lot of rehashing, but she is standing aboard the ship Balerion, watching her dragons chase each other across a clear blue sky, and Dany is as happy as she can ever remember being.
Yeah, so she takes a few moments to think about how the Dothraki are not doing well here at sea.
Poor Dothraki.
Reminding us that they think that any water that you can't drink, that your horse can't drink, is poison water. It's fucking nasty, nasty business, and it's death. And yet they're here.
Yeah. The day they had left, her blood riders and handmaidens had watched the shore fade away from sight with wide white eyes, though most of her Khalasar preferred to stay below and not get a view of the open, endless sea around them.
Right.
As that's a little too much for them.
Yep.
So, 6 days in, a squall enveloped them, and her Dothraki were having a rough time of that.
Poor fucking people.
Most of them were sending up muttered prayers for just Jesus.
But she ain't having no problems with it. She's Daenerys motherfucking Stormborn. Born during one of the most craziest motherfucking storms. Speaking of which, we should give a shout out to anyone that's losing health, life, power, resources to the hurricanes that are going on.
True
that have been hitting pretty hard. So Daenerys was hit pretty hard.
I think it's interesting that she notes that the storm that was occurring that night ripped the gargoyles from the walls of Dragonstone. Dragonstone, we know, is said to be crafted to defend against withstand
storms,
the way the stones fit together and everything. So the fact that this storm is ripping shit off, interesting. But she also had crossed the narrow sea dozens of times when she was running from Robert's hired assassins, the usurper's hired assassin. She loved the sea, the salty smell, the open horizon, the dolphins that swam beside them,
and the sailors with their stories.
Yeah, all of it.
And so she even told Viserys once that she wouldn't hate being a sailor. It'd be kind of fun. And who hasn't? Like, we were just watching Muppet Treasure Island the other night again. Like, who doesn't want to be a fucking pirate every once in a while? I'm not necessarily fond of the ocean. I know for a fact that you wouldn't be doing that kind of business. But like,
no, yeah, fuck that.
You know, it's fun to think about every now and then, and so he fucking beats her, basically.
Yeah, he grabbed her hair and twisted till she cried out and said, "You are blood of the dragon, not some smelly fish." And she just thinks he was a fool about that and so much more. If he had chilled the fuck out, it might be him sailing to Westeros instead of me.
So then she gets some nostalgic callback for him, where she does recall that there were times when she was growing up that he acted like a brother, not a rapist.
Yeah, she missed the boy he was, not the man he became. And that's that. She mourns for him, but not the fucking prissy piece of shit we saw in A Game of Thrones. The boy who was afraid and running with his sister.
Yeah.
From
Telling
his parents' killers as well. Right, yeah.
Yeah, so she's kind of broken from her thoughts as the captain arrives and just starts BSing with it.
Yeah, he's basically apologizing that they're not moving faster, and Dany's like, yeah, it's all good, man. And then she just sort of ruminates on the fact that she's just happy she finally won him over.
Yeah.
Because initially, he wasn't too fond of the idea of having three dragons aboard his ship.
If you jumped straight from Clash into Storms from her chapters,
was the issue
you
she
would
was
remember
having
she
in
was having a
Karth.
lot of problems with that until Barry the Bold showed up with Illyrio's 3 boats for her.
Yeah, so to pacify him, she had agreed to have them caged for a bit of their journey, but within a couple days, she couldn't stand seeing how sad they were, so she freed them. And eventually, everyone came to be glad of that. There was one small fire,
but it was mainly when they were caged.
Yeah, it was quickly extinguished, and then the dragons just started flying around the ships, and the crew and the sailors all began taking a strange sort of pride in them, calling them their dragons, and it became sort of the mascot of these ships now. And it's neat.
It's cool how she's getting these followers just by having the dragons.
Right.
And so she does think, though, that, like, if what the Magi had said, if Mirri Maz Duur was honest, then these were the only children she were ever going to have anyway.
Yeah.
And,
Mother dragons.
I just don't know that Mirri was telling the fucking truth.
Yeah, we'll find out. Viserion and Rhaegar are currently flying above the ship she's watching, soaring high above in circles, each trying to climb higher than the other. And should one get between the other and the sun, they would fold in their wings and dive screaming, and they would tumble from the sky locked together, jaws snapping, tails lashing. But it's all in sport. At first, she thought they meant to kill each other, but no sooner do they hit the waves than they break apart and rise, steam coming off of them.
So I find it very reminiscent of early Bran chapters back in Game of Thrones, I suppose, but more so early Clash, where he was watching Shaggy Dog and Summer nipping and running around and stuff. They're just dragons playing like the wolf pups did, just biting and they don't run around in the trees. They fly up over the sky, and this is the game they play.
Drogon was flying as well, though not in sight. He would be miles ahead or miles behind, hunting. And Dany thinks that he was always hungry, my little Drogon, and that he's growing fast. Already, he's about the size of a large dog, and so are the other two. But that's not that big, really.
It's deceiving, because they're just long and lanky.
Yeah.
They're very thin, they're light,
And so it's going to be quite a while yet before any of them are able to bear any riders or carry much of anything. And so now, wooden canvas would have to bear her to where she needs to go.
Yeah, and this is where we get why the captain is apologizing for their speed, because she describes that right now the canvas is letting her down because there's not been any fucking wind whatsoever for like the last 6 days and nights, and so they've just been going on the oars, mainly from the other 2 ships that are towing this one, because this one's so big and so fucking heavy and filled with people
laden
and
down,
stuff. The other ones each have about 200 oars, and it's rough,
It's slow,
going.
So Jorah joins her, and he asks where Drogon is, and begin talking of how big it is that dragons grow. And Jorah says that most of what is known of dragons comes from the Targaryen dragons, and they were bred for war.
I like what he said right before that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't mean to cut off that sick line, but he does mention that before that, they know stuff from lore, and that dragons have been known to get as big that they could just pluck kraken from the sea. Fuck, that's a big dragon. Do you think any of them exist that are that big, or do you think we'll see remnants, skulls of something massive?
Are you asking currently?
Yeah, like
are there any currently alive?
Hidden somewhere, or
I mean, there's rumors, you gotta read Fire and Blood, that some of the dragons were lost during the Dance of Dragons, and quite a few of them are thought to be somewhere and growing quite large. I believe there's one that may be around the Eyrie. If rumors are to be believed, Dragonstone and Winterfell may perhaps contain their own dragon. Who knows how big. Balerion, I mean, as will be stated, Balerion was one of those that was big enough to pluck a fucking dragon or a kraken.
He was that big?
I would believe so. he was a fucking monster. Balerion was
the
enormous.
Black Dread,
yeah,
he was
and I think there's certainly dragons that were bigger.
And that's
but...
the ones that I technically was thinking that he was referencing more. Those like fucking legendary.
Well,
status,
I mean that that's gonna be fucking world ending to come fight
true.
the others. Here comes Rhaegar as Cold Hands, fucking dun 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 dun. Like so that I think is crazy. But I think there's potential for Drogon to get this big, and there could potentially be another one kicking out there somewhere.
But as you mentioned, Jorah does bring up the fact that what they actually know is mainly from the Targaryen history, and that they were used in war and died in war, so they didn't get the chance to live out a full life.
But this is when Arstan Whitebeard, Barry the Bold, jumps in.
Barry the badass Bold.
And says that Balerion, the Black Dread, was 200 years old when he died in the year of one of the Targaryens.
Jaehaerys?
Jaehaerys, the conciliator, yeah. And that the dragons never stop growing, so long as they have the food and the freedom necessary.
Yeah.
And Dany's like, what's that about freedom?
Yeah, and so he goes into a detailed description of the dragon pits in King's Landing and how they were used to keep them caged, and that it was a big cavernous place, but they noticed that the ones that stayed in there frequently didn't grow beyond a certain size.
And the Maesters, he said the Maesters believe that none of the dragons grew as large as their ancestors because of the walls and roofs that contained them. And Jorah snorts. Jorah snorts and says if walls could make us small, peasants would be tiny, and kings giants.
And Barristan comes right back at him. Men are men. Dragons are fucking dragons, bro. Shut the fuck up.
Jorah, in what world is that not the way it works in Westeros?
No shit.
The small folk are tiny,
right,
and the kings are giants who step all over them.
That's how oblivious he is.
And that's what King's Landing exactly is these walls make these it's the control. We just saw that with Blackwater.
Right.
That these walls make the small folk tiny. Joffrey's shooting them with crossbows.
Right.
While
his own citizens.
He stands on the walls, looming over them like a giant. Fuck you, Jorah. You're wrong.
Always wrong.
Men are men. Dragons are dragons. Fuck you. Barry 1, Jorah nothing.
Yeah, so Jorah's going to basically just sit here contesting everything.
Dany digresses that, he hasn't liked Arstan Whitebeard since they met.
Right.
And he's made that clear. So Jorah, asks Whitebeard what he would even know of dragons, and what would you know anyway? And Arstan's like, little, but I did walk the halls of the Red Keep and look at the dragon skulls that hung there. And Dany, bless her heart, is like, ooh, I've heard of those. Viserys used to talk of them. And she then asks Whitebeard if he ever had the pleasure of meeting her father, King Aerys II. And asks if he was gentle and kind. And Barristan's like,
I knew the guy.
He was all right. And she's like, oh, you can speak freely. And he says, he was harsh to those he deemed enemy. And she says, well, then perhaps some people shouldn't make enemies of kings. But then she says, did you meet my brother Rhaegar?
So before that, a few things I wanted to bring up. One will be about Jorah, who I want to mention is our Theon of the episode. Maybe we need to start doing one of those. We'll have our fucking inductee and then our Theon of the episode.
No. I don't want to draw a spotlight to these pieces of shit.
Good point. So, the Jorah thing is, do you think he doesn't like Arstan and Belwas because he knows that Illyrio is aware that he's a traitor?
Here we go.
And that he's trying to make sure that those two may be aware of the fact that was working for Robert. Something like that.
No. I think he's a fucking cunt hypocrite. And that's the furthest thing from his mind. I think his fragile little ego is being damaged because he wants to be
the one
bird
source,
on her shoulder.
The one who gives her all
Dany
her information.
is squealing in delight at the things that Arstan's telling her about her father because he was there. I mean, we know this is Barry the Bold. Barry was fucking there during King Aerys' fucking rule.
See, and that's why I'm really excited for when the review. I was so upset that it wasn't.
No,
this chapter.
I don't think
there's any kind of.
And I don't think that that's wild to think. But no, in this instance, I think this is purely ego. He wants her. And someone is coming in and making her happy, and and it's not him, and so he's sour. He wants her to trust no one but him,
right?
And fuck you, you scumbag.
Good, yeah, no, that's basically where I was at.
Because I don't think he's thinking that far ahead. I think his dick is hard over this woman, and I think he's completely forgotten that he betrayed her and that he's a piece of shit as well.
Because he's so obsessed.
Right, and Robert's dead. That secret died
he's
with
okay,
him.
yeah.
Right, and he's not in Westeros under the effects of the spider. So, and maybe that's where some of his inherent distrust of Illyrio is coming from. But I don't think Arstan and Belwas. I think those are Arstan here is getting close to the queen by providing this, and he doesn't like that at all.
Right.
And so she asks if he knew her brother Rhaegar. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you had another.
Another point. He says that he knew Ares, and she says, well, maybe he wasn't so wrong, treating the enemies harshly. And
right, maybe you shouldn't make a king as
so
an
I
enemy.
just wanted to draw that parallel that she's not disagreeing with the
Don't
Mad
make
King.
an enemy of a king.
She is technically kind of, and so not to say, oh, Mad King, Queen
No,
Dany,
but that's how it starts.
Highlighting these types of things that, like, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea. And then next thing we know, Dickon Tarly's getting burned.
Well, right. I mean, why wouldn't she apply that to herself when she's queen? Don't make an enemy of me, and I won't have to destroy you. And that's a very dangerous Cersei way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, there's a line that can be teetered there, but, like, which way does she fall?
And again, I think, and I could see why that's the biggest outcry of the show. The book deserves it and earns it. The show obviously was rushed, completing the last seasons in the amount that they did, but here there are these subtle seeds.
I think it's important to highlight those throughout, just because
she's not completely. I mean, like our own president, she's not condemning this behavior of disgusting people and the things that they did. She's just saying, well, maybe you shouldn't piss him off.
Yeah. Which reminds me, go vote.
Go vote.
Go fucking vote. I voted today.
Did you?
Go vote.
Hell yeah. I'm still waiting to get my clearance in my polling place, but I'll be doing that. Go vote. Anyway,
vote. Yes.
She asks if he ever knew Rhaegar, and Barristan says, it is said that no man ever truly knew Rhaegar, but I did see him at tourney, and I did hear him play the harp. And again,
Jorah scoffs, because again, he's talking right now like, oh, I saw him. I saw him here.
Yeah, you have no special claim.
You and thousands of others. Like, so what? You're nothing special.
Next, you'll claim you squired for him. And again, Barristan. I claim no such thing. Sir Miles Mouton was Rhaegar's squired, and Richard Lonmouth after him. Young Lord Connington was dear to the prince as well, but his oldest friend was Sir Arthur Dane. Fucking say some shit, bitch. Say some shit.
Dude, so he goes right down the fucking line.
Yeah, like, I'm not in that list.
Because the funny thing is he knows every one of them personally.
Yeah.
I really like that he said how his John Connington's little, because it was different. It wasn't his dearest friend.
No, they're not BFFs. He's
he was
dear to him. I heart it. I ship it. I love it. Anyway, Dany is like, ooh, the Sword of the Morning. I know Arthur Dane. Viserys used to talk to him in his crazy sweet blade, and that's awesome. He also said that Sir Arthur Dane was Rhaegar's only peer. And this is where Barristan, our Whitebeard, bows and says, it's not my place to question a prince. And Dany corrects him to king and says he would have been king, yada, yada, yada. But what is it you mean? That's not the answer I expected. You can speak freely with me, sir. And he says basically that he saw him perform in a lot of tourneys, and many men perform in tourneys and wars. It's basically luck. No matter what, eventually there will be a battle where you fail. There is someone better than you. There always will be, whether it's a spot on the grass that you slip on or your horse shies away from something at the last minute. It's sort of luck of the draw.
Which is also partially him saying, like, Rhaegar was fair. Yeah. He wasn't bad, but he was no Arthur Dane.
Yeah. So she asks what Rhaegar was truly like, and he says able, determined, dutiful, single-minded. And then he says, I know a tale of Rhaegar, but perhaps your Sir Jorah knows it better. And she says, well, I'd hear it from you, which, again, sticks in Jorah's, has to stick in Jorah's craw. You tell me.
No, you tell me.
And we get this quick tale, which I basically summarized. Bookish as fuck as a child, Rhaegar preferred reading over to playing with the other children. But no one knows what it is.
Unnaturally so with the books.
Right. He would consume books at a crazy rate. But no one knows what happened, what changed, or what he found in his scrolls. But one morning, he showed up in the yard where the men were putting on armor and getting ready to train.
Went to the Master-at-Arms.
Willem Darry, shout out!
Willem Darry.
And said that he required sword and armor, as it seems I must be a warrior. And...
it's just such a cool...
What did he find?
Right.
Is this the dragon has 3 heads thing?
I was debating on whether I even wanted to pose you the question. Just 'cause it's like one of those... It's one of the most highly debated things. And like...
And it's so
who
cool.
knows? Like,
Yeah.
did he find just...
something about the others?
I mean, it could be as basic as, reading the Dance with Dragons battle. Or, it could be as prophetic as the, who knows?
But at this point, Whitebeard spots Belwas coming up, and he's bellowing that he's hungry. And he asks Dany's leave to go attend him, which she gives. And Jorah immediately, as soon as Arstan walks away, is like, yeah, don't fucking trust him. Take all his words well salted, your grace. He plays you false. It's strange that he's old and a squire to that man. And
so it is... because Dany says it.
It is
so
weird.
It is strange that he is as knowledgeable as he is, as old as he is, as deft as he is, and it'll be pointed out later with his staff, but squiring for that dof.
Right.
Like...
But she says, you've saved my life from Robert's assassins. Arstan has as well. So maybe Belwas is the next. Like, I get it. He's weird. He's unorthodox. Like, he's got his crazy Chris-cut belly, but, like...
And I say again, done absolutely nothing yet so far. Even pointed out by the queen herself, Khaleesi.
Right. He's chilling. He's doing his job. He's coming and collecting her. Like...
But he still hasn't done anything yet.
I mean, he doesn't need to. He's fucking strong Belwas. And, maybe he'll be the next one to save her. But then, just then, the wind picks up. And everyone's like, oh, fuck yeah!
Hey, we're going.
And so... they begin heading on quicker, and
So, as I mentioned earlier, we had watched Treasure Island, and now I just pictured them during these 6 days busting out into the We've Got Cabin Fever song.
Yo, can we point out when we were watching that, you noticed it, but when Kermit and Miss Piggy are hanging from the fucking rope over the cliff, Miss Piggy's legs have no business being that, like, defined
realistic
and
human
realistic.
looking.
Yeah,
like,
it's unsettling.
It's weird.
Go back and check a look at that, and then you're welcome for not being able to sleep tonight as you picture them, because it's just fucking bizarre.
Whoa.
But later, in her cabin, in the captain's cabin, which he so generously offered, saying that queens, even at sea, must be shown proper tribute.
So this is very similar to Arya's trip to Braavos.
Yeah.
With getting that treatment. So do you think that has any kind of correlation? A queen being given...
Arya is like queen in my heart.
Slay queen,
but,
got it. But like, do you think that there's anything like? Because obviously, I don't want her in any way, shape, or form to be a queen, other than the way she is currently.
No, I mean, I think it's just you can equate it to the fact that there's a child wielding the power of a queen at this point. Yeah. She's getting cabins gifted to her just based on information and stuff she has. But Dany's chilling naked on her bed, feeding her dragons, as Eerie is sleeping at the foot of her bed because
it's her turn.
Yeah, it was her turn.
Your turn, slave girl.
Yeah.
You can't go to your own room and sleep in a fucking bed. You have to sleep at the foot of my fucking bed, dog.
And she is teaching Drogon how to char his own meat, and it's
That's
dope.
Cool.
And there's a knock, and Jiqui
hears heavy breathing, but goes to the door and opens it anyway.
Opens it, and it's Jorah, and Dany invites him in, wrapping herself up with her blanket.
He's here to Jorah rape her.
Yeah,
Fucking gross.
And so she shows him Drogon charring his own meat, and when she commands Dracarys, of course, and tells him that Dracarys is dragon fire and high Valyrian, because she chose a command word that isn't like to be uttered often.
Frequently, yeah.
And so he asks her to speak alone, and Dany tells her handmaidens to leave. Red flag, please don't. But they do. And she covers herself as...
Khaleesi, if you don't text in 5 minutes, we will come back in. It is known.
I mean, that's why Jorah's here. You didn't respond to my goodnight text.
Yeah, no shit.
But he immediately starts saying he's worried.
Sorry, I was texting
I was texting Arstan. He immediately starts saying he's worried about Whitebeard, Belwas, and Illyrio.
Yeah, he immediately brings up the warlocks and their
3
threat.
betrayals. And not his own, of course. Not his own betrayal.
Right, and that's it.
You hypocritical cunt.
It's fairly believed throughout the fandom of the A Song of Ice and Fire that his betrayal is one of those 3. whether it's for love or for fucking power, money, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
But the fact that he's like, it's just so ignorant. Like,
I mean, it's manipulative.
Right
He's clinging onto things that he knows are her worries as well. Like,
right.
she's been kind of...
because she is confided in him.
Right. And so it's manipulative. He's trying to
Absolutely.
twist her against them by bringing up these, remember these 3 betrayals?
Remember
they
these
said?
horrifying experiences
Well,
you
it
had?
was Miri Mazdur was the first. There's 2 left. Well, 2 people just happened to come into our
It's
life.
like Jim Carrey in that fucking 13 number or movie. Whatever
Right,
the fuck,
right,
where
yeah,
he's
the
27,
2. He's like,
and
they fit the
it's
2.
2 plus if you subtract 1 manticore from the 2, like,
Yeah.
fuck you, Jorah.
And so they argue back and forth, but Dany reminds herself that he means well. He's coming from a place of love, which is the only...
Rapey love.
The only ignorant thing, and not ignorant because she wouldn't know yet that this
she's
is...
not...
But, like, that's the only thing here is that she's not picking up on these because his eyes are always going down to her breast because her covers are falling every now and then, and she's shifting them up, and he's just fucking creepy.
And so he finally lays out his actual plan and why he came here, and saying that you don't need to be going to Pentos because you don't know if you can trust Arstan and Belwas.
Or Illyrio.
They're under control of Illyrio.
Yep.
We don't know if we can trust him. Yeah, Robert's dead, but Joffrey is still running around, the son. Like, who knows what's up?
So he says, to test the loyalty and obedience of her new subjects, command Captain Grolio to change course for Slaver's Bay. And she's like, what the fuck is there for me in Slaver's Bay? I've heard it's a shithole, horrible place.
Yeah, but you can buy Unsullied.
You can buy Unsullied.
Which her only experience in our first-time readers with the Unsullied at this point are these fat, lazy house guards over in Pentos. And he's like, no, let me tell you a little story.
The 30,000 of Cohort.
Yeah, so basically a shitload of free riders, sellswords, were hired, the Second Sons, and I forget the other name, to protect Cohort, and 50,000 Dothraki
strong
charged them
Khalasar,
down, fucked them up. And the 3,000 hired Unsullied showed up the next day, put up a shield wall, got taken down to 600 of them left, but took down, 40,000?
Yeah, there were 12,000.
So
more than 12,000 Dothraki lay dead, including the Ka.
Right,
and the
all his sons
and all his blood riders,
And so they all cut their braids and gave them to the Dothraki. And so he was like, that is the force you need to go and buy. And she's like, well, I don't have the money. And he's like, girl, I'm going to rape you later. But in the meantime, you should sell all of Illyrio's shit on these boats. And he gives her this tale of, like, if he's actually loyal to you, then it's your stuff anyway. Why shouldn't somebody so wealthy be contributing to the wealth of his queen?
Yeah.
And he's manipulating her beliefs and her thoughts. That's a very Viserys thought.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's mine anyway, and I'll use it how I want to use it. I want to bring up a quick point here because one of our listeners mentioned it, and I'd rather mention it here. Do you think that Illyrio wants her to go and meet him to meet up with young Griff?
That's one of the harder questions is, what is their plan with Viserys, and why did they marry Dany off to Khal Drogo? And the dragon eggs, what did Illyrio know? Because it seems like his and Varys' cards were set on Viserys.
Right.
And so... were they? And is this something to do with why he wants her to come back? I think it could be. It could potentially be a marriage to young Griff.
I suppose a big part of it's the fact that she now has 3 dragons.
Right. But my question's also, what is Illyrio's connection to young Griff?
So I was going to say, here's my thinking along the path right now is that Dany going with the Dothraki was their way to get the fuck rid of Dany and Viserys. Get him out of here.
Right.
Put Aegon. We want
Marry
young
her
Griff
off,
then hopefully they'll just die out there in the fucking desert.
Yep.
Hoping what happened to Viserys is what happened, and then just hoping that Dany would kind of fall in as this slave queen to these people, and not they had no expectations of fucking dragons coming back, and so now that that's occurred, they had young Griff. And so I think the plan is now kind of developed of he was our go-to. She now has the fucking dragons. Let's get them together.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there's potential that was the plan here, but...
So she asks what happens if Grolio refuses, and he says, well, perhaps you'd best go and ask him and find out. And so she says, I will, and she hops up, saying she'll go see him now, and her covers fall as she heads over to her chest to begin
Immediately
dressing.
grabs some pants, throws those on.
And asks for her vest and belt as Jorah slid his arms around her, and all she manages is a little "oh" before he's kissing her. Ugh.
Ugh.
Her mouth opened to his, even though she didn't tell it to. And she notes that his beard is rough and coarse, but his mouth is sweet. And it's a long kiss. She knows not how long, but when they pull away, she thinks he should not be doing this. I am his queen, not his woman.
And now let's pause right there. That's her whole thought. That's it. Right? Because, like, she's only ever kissed Khal Drogo.
Yep.
Only. Ever, other than if her fucking sick brother
Right.
fucking did his sick shit. This is not something she's used to. She's used to Khal Drogo, her husband, taking her, which it's also been stated by, and I mean, again, there's limits by George Martin that, like, Drogo in her first sex scene was consensual, I guess. Granted, again, there's the age and all that shit, but this world is this world. This is just him taking advantage of a fucking child.
Yep.
And she hadn't quite registered, this is not okay yet.
Yeah.
It just was like such a surprise. Gotcha, bitch. Like, you deserve to be fucking castrated and then strung up on the front of a ship for days to get sunburnt until the blisters are there getting eaten by the fucking birds.
She starts to tell him you should not have, and he cuts her off saying, I should not have waited so long. You were made to be kissed well and often. And his eyes are on her breasts at this point, so she covers them up with her hands.
Good girl.
And tells him, I am your queen. And he says, my queen, the bravest, smartest, most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And
can we point out poor his ex-wife that fucking sent him to ruins? This is probably what he did to her, too.
Yeah.
No wonder she tried to get the fuck away from him.
We kind of glossed over it, but Barry did a dig at him earlier about it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dany even thinks on it about his wife, about
was
how
there.
She's the one who ruined him. And it's just such an interesting, let's blame the woman.
Yeah, because I think that at that tourney, which she noticed he was there at that tournament. He saw him fight for. She gifted him Liness, or whatever her name is, I can't think of it right now, gave him her fancy, her favor, and he won the tournament, and they married, but it was that obsession with him, where he's like, I've got this pretty girl, she's mine, we're married, you must, and like, he tried providing, but he was just gross and creepy, and fuck off, Jorah. Like,
and then just to blame her, it ruined him, fuck off. He again, now, commits the cardinal sin for me as well, saying, the dragon has 3 heads. You've wondered at that since hearing about it in the Warlock's palace. Well, here is your meaning. 3 dragons, 3 riders. And he brings up Aegon and his sister wives riding their dragons. And Dany says, yeah, but my brothers are all dead. And he says, yes, they are, but you can take husbands. And I tell you truly, there is no man in all the world who will ever be half so true to you as me.
So, first of all, that's already false. Second of all, Jorah just admit to wanting to be a sister
Did Jorah
husband?
just imply that he wants to ride a fucking dragon?
Whoever...
Did that just pour out of your cunt hole, Jorah? Did that just pull out of your fucking...
Dude,
In a world of Tyrions and Jon Snows, you think you're gonna climb on a fucking dragon?
He wants to be a sister husband.
No, he doesn't.
On a dragon.
He wants her.
He wants to rape
and
this child.
He wants to ride a dragon with her.
He wants to tell her whatever she thinks he can to get her to... Oh!
Yo, he would kill the third. Just so that way
Absolutely.
there isn't a third rider. It's just him and her.
He could never handle a third.
Yeah.
Ever.
Fuck you, Jorah. Fuck you, Jorah. Fuck you, Jorah.
So Zach's inductee is Jorah.
Fuck you, Jorah. God damn it. How are you the son of that beautiful, brilliant man up north?
I mean, Jorah's got his problems too, but he's not a fucking child rapist, I don't think. I might be wrong. Who knows?
Who knows why I got sent to the wall.
Yeah, true. But I don't think that it's because he fucking raped a child.
Anyway.
You sick fuck.
And
Jorah.
claim, oh, I'm the one who's true to you. Fuck you! You were fucking lying to her for the entire first book, you
and this
piece of
second
shit.
book. And now this book.
Well, right, but now it's just, he's true to her now, so let's skirt all that. That didn't happen.
I'm going to cry when Barry reveals his identity, and Jorah just fucking, oh, shit my pants.
I hate him.
Fuck him,
I'm glad
dude.
he gets fucking beaten and shit.
We need to take a fucking breathing break so that we can, and then we can reset and convene our small council, get some inductees, read some inductees, mention some inductees that we've got for last other episode. We'll see you in the small council. We're settled down a little bit.
Fuck you, Jorah.
A little. Don't hype yourself up, or we're gonna have to just go back into the breathing techniques. So just in.
Anyway, Dany's on her way to Astapor, Slaver's Bay. We're gonna be getting some Unsullied, which and that's the thing that sucks is that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad plan.
And it works out in certain ways.
But it's coming from a creepy fucking pedophile, and I don't want to say it's a good idea when it's coming from a creepy fucking pedophile. So
right.
Anyway, you got an inductee for Dany 1?
No, not yet.
All right, cool. Mine's going to Captain Groleo, just because he graciously offers his cabin, tells her, even at sea, a queen should be presented proper tribute. He apologizes for having a big tugboat of a ship that can't move very fast, and then fucking takes advantage of the wind as soon as it does. Whether or not he's playing her at the behest of Illyrio, we may or may not ever know. But he's serving her well, and he gave her his cabin without any issue. And you know what? I like him, and I like his name.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think we need a good ship captain. And so Groleo.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give mine to John Connington, who got a nice little shout-out this chapter with being dear to Rhaegar, but not his absolute best friend ever. BFFs for life.
They have bracelets.
They got bracelets.
Arthur Dayne and Rhaegar.
Yeah. But John Con and Rhaegar have heart-shaped pendants.
John Con, with each other's picture in it.
Right. So I'm going with John Con because I can't wait for John and Connington. John and Connington
the third.
John Con chapters are going to be fucking sweet.
I heart him.
John Con. Anyway, we've got some lovely inductees from our friends all over the place. I'm going to start out with one that was for last chapter, Johnny Boy, John 1. And this is from our friend Corey over at the Dreadfort. And he says, hey guys, my inductee is Tormund Giantsbane. It was a quick introduction, but he's definitely a man's man. Would love to crush a few horns of ale with him. Would be amazing if his storyline and the Hound, if alive, crosses in a battle or on Wing Night at the Crossroad Inn.
That'd be sweet.
I want some wings now, though.
Woo!
Anyway, you have one from our little buddy there.
Yeah, just read.
Keep going. All right.
Corey's email.
Corey's also got one from for Dany here. This is such an important chapter, not only in Storm of Swords, but for the entire series. What if Dany decided to continue her journey to Pentos? She would have never raised an army, freed thousands of slaves, and even ruled Marine. Why did Illyrio want her back? To arrange another wedding? Maybe to young Gruff? Young Gruff.
Hey, give me those dragons.
Give me them dragons right now. Young Griff, who knows? He was torn between two inductees, the Dothraki for having the balls to sail on the poison water, or Whitebeard for the history lesson during Aerys II's reign. Also, the reference to Arthur Dayne and John Connington being dear to Rhaegar.
Love it.
Got that. But at the end of the day, anyone who can piss off Ser Jorah will get my inductee to Whitebeard, the world's oldest squire.
Barry.
So
Barry the Bold.
Wonderful, and yeah, I'm glad that you went with Barry so that I could take John Connington. So let's finish up this email. Is Roose Bolton a vampire?
Nope.
I would like to have opinion, but we small folk try to steer clear of the local
safe.
Politics. Cheers, Corey from the Dreadfort.
Yeah, we're not going to try to make you answer that question
we
and
would
put
never,
yourself in danger. As Nate's about to try to some fucking scumbaggy, loopholey bullshit way do. You don't have to answer it.
We would never try to get you to get killed by a vampire.
Oh my fucking god.
Nor by
Listen
your
to
lord.
This fucking tool. Julian made a post about it.
I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know. I didn't see the post.
I showed it to you.
So
you did see it, Julian.
There are theories that there is potential. You should look into them.
There's a theory that there's potential. I'm about to slam your face off this fucking desk.
I'd like to read
Thank
that
you,
one.
Corey, from the Dread Fort. Stay safe. Don't answer any stupid questions
Vampires.
from my co-host.
I said vampires.
We also heard from our favorite French fry, Julian. He says, hello. Hell. Such a creep. I was like, why is Dany getting naked in front of Uncle Jorah? And then
she already was naked.
Shit. Right, Dany was chilling.
Yeah,
like,
it's
she
her
was
room.
in, yeah,
it's
she
her
was in
close
full
friends.
And then, holy shit, that felt weird. He wants to be a dragon rider. LOL. I'm sorry, but hell no.
Well
right.
done.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, besides that creepiness, I really like the influence battle between Barristan, Arstan, and Jorah. Very much in Dany's story was about influence in the TV show. I am hoping it will be even better throughout the books so I can embrace her chapters. It will be.
Dude, it's so much better.
Inductee side, I think the one I want at the table is Rhaegar.
Yes.
Early, smart, and deep in the books so he could get wise before becoming a warrior. The Targaryen the world deserved. Shame on you, Bobby B. Have a nice evening there, my friends. Rhaegar Dohaeris. Thank you, sir. I love Rhaegar. He's like one of the, anytime there's those questions of like, who's the character like you wish you could see a POV or hear from, it would be Rhaegar for me. Or bring back, because I just think he's super interesting.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, and I'd love having him in the Brotherhood, and I heart him in John Con, and I heart him being the heart player, and Dany's reaction to him is always super cool because she gets the father, who is crazy and scary, and the brother, who's this warrior, but is really actually this seemingly gentle and kind and intellect man. So
it's cool.
Intellect man.
Cool.
Intellect man.
Unlike my co-host over here,
completely
Zach.
the opposite of me. So, thank you, Julian. Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, if you would like to send us in some inductees, you can do so.
So, I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
We also haven't explained, really, the inductee system in a long time. So, if this is your first episode, our inductees are people that just, when we're reading the chapters, we think stand out and we want to bring into this Brotherhood here of ours.
And not just people. It could be...
Oh, right. Any moment or
people,
object,
chairs,
symbolism, whatever you want.
things.
But anything in the chapter that stood out to you as being a cool moment, badass moment, whatever.
Ridiculous moment,
and we
funny
like to
moment.
just draw attention to it and call them our inductees into the Brotherhood and bring them in.
We
so
induct them into
if,
the
as
Brotherhood.
Corey and Julian did for us, and Nate and I provide one of our own for a chapter. So if you would like to do that, you can write us in.
At our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. You can also find us on all the social medias, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. I am on Twitter, Nate, at MannersWithout. Zach is over there on Twitter, at Carstark92 sometimes.
Yeah.
We're also on Instagram. We have an at MannersWithout over there. And then our Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners, gives you access to the private Facebook group.
Pravite.
What else we got? Anything else there? Our website, www.brotherhoodwithout.com.
Rates and reviews are cool.
Rates and reviews are lovely on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Breaker, Spreaker. I don't know. There's a million of those fucking things.
The world of America is still falling apart, so
vote,
stay safe.
Definitely vote.
Fucking for the love of God.
Because Black
vote.
Lives Matter, and we need to get this fucking psycho out of the office.
Orange is sus, so vote him out. Like, let's be real here.
Got it.
I
think that's it for another episode.
Vote. Join us next time for Brand 1, Brand's first chapter in A Storm of Swords. So we're going to get into some warging, leaving Winterfell shit.
Send us some sweet inductees. Who's after Brand, do you know?
Davos 2.
Davos 2, our second point of view chapter. So before we shut down, I did want to mention that our guests are currently lined up to start appearing as we hit third point of views. So as we're hitting certain characters' third point of view, those are some of the chapters that some of our guests are interested in. Woo! And so it's coming up quick, and so we'll be announcing some of those names very, very soon. And I think that covers it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Follow the Harris!
Peace.